Hello, and it's Monday at 5:30, so we're starting Kind Soups. And today we are making a New York Times recipe made so much simpler than the New York Times gave it to us. It's a cranberry bean and kale soup, and you all have the recipe as it was shown in the New York Times. And boy, are we going to make this recipe easy for you today. And we're being led today by Weil. So I'm going to hand it off to Carol.
Thanks, Deb. And first, I want to issue a major mea culpa for the complications in this recipe. As Deb said, usually New York Times recipes are very easy. And I saw this a long time ago and thought, just looked at the ingredients and said, oh, it looks like a great, fun soup for, change of season time. And Deb and I talked about it and we picked a date. And then I didn't think about it. And I went back to look at it yesterday. And I said, oh my Lord, this is like so complicated unnecessarily. And so I did put a few tips on the website. I don't know if anyone saw them today. We tried to get them out. That, the whole cheesecloth thing, do not feel compelled to do. I mean, you can mince the garlic or use the garlic in a jar thing and you can even use dried herbs instead of fresh in a soup like this. The kale does not need to be blanched beforehand. It can be put right in the soup. It's such a big volume that we're doing. It might actually be easier to blanch it if you can do that easily. I have a steam oven, so for me, it's super easy, or you could do it in the microwave. But if you don't want to just dump it right in the soup, if you have a huge pot and you're not working with two pots, it's probably easier. Same with the tomatoes. The tomatoes do not need to be peeled. They do not need to be cooked beforehand. What I ended up doing is I took some onions and tomatoes, and because I wanted to get some of that olive oil flavor in there, I sauteed a bunch of them in olive oil, and then I just dumped them in the soup along with the beans, along with the kale. I mean, it's basically, as we all, our favorite mantra, soup is very forgiving. This is one pot cooking here, and you can do this in any manner that's easiest for you with the tools that you have available in your kitchen, and just using the ingredients that are there. And one thing I will say, I actually did, because I was nervous about this one, I did it beforehand. So I'm just going to show you what mine looks like in case that's helpful. This is mine. It's sort of bubbling. I just added more water because it's very, very thick. I added a bunch of chopped celery, honestly, because I had some that I felt like it wouldn't last another 4 or 5 days in my house, and I wanted to use it up, and I had a lot of it. So I added that, and I thought it would be good. So it's basically a big bean and vegetable stock soup. And, you can see it's got a lot of the color, the carrots and the tomatoes and the green. And the kale does cook down. I think the picture in the New York Times, it was a lot greener, but that's because they had just added it. So this is what, if you wanted to really bright, beautiful green tonight for your own dinner, that's great. But the truth is that once it's been sitting in that broth and gets served to other families, it is not going to be that bright green. So it's going to probably be like this. But it is, I thought it was very tasty. It does have a lot of nice spice in it. The one thing I would say is it needs salt. I added the recipe itself doesn't call for any salt, and I added a bunch on my own. It does call for pepper, which I thought was also a good addition, but so if you want to add anything other than what's in there, I would recommend start. And I'm not usually a big salt person, honestly, but this one I thought there's just so much stuff in here. It just needed a little salt. So that's a lot of talking. Does anyone, because I think honestly, this is one where we're all going to have kind of a not one size fits all way to do this, and everyone's going to tailor this to be very bespoke, as they say, for what works for you in your kitchen. So does anyone have questions or comments if you've already made it or if you've already started on what worked or what didn't? Or
before we do comments, let me just repeat for whoever might have just shown up. And Vicky, welcome. Lisa, hi. Oh, we've got Olivier. So let me just reiterate what Carol was saying so that if anyone's starting, they know that although the recipe tells you to make it in a whole bunch of different pots and blanch this and blanch that, you don't need to do that. You can make this the same way we make all our soups and just saute up your onions. And if you have carrots and celery, you can put your carrots and celery in there too. Cook it down for a little bit, add your garlic, and then add your beans and do it all in one pot. You don't have to use the water from the kale. You don't have to, cook your tomatoes and peel them. So I just want to make sure everyone heard Carol say all that.
Yeah, and don't worry about the cheesecloth either. That is, it's fun if you have it and you want to be, very français or whatever, but don't worry about that if that's a pain. And the one thing about the garlic, because when they called for the cheesecloth and the garlic, it made me think you probably don't want to bite into a large piece of garlic. So if you're going to add garlic that you're using like fresh garlic, either mince it or garlic press it or make it really tiny. You could also just use, if you have that garlic in a jar stuff that's in, I think it's in oil or something, you could use that. So that's the one comment I would make if you're as a substitute for the cheesecloth on the garlic.
All right. Olivier, you cooking today?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're cooking today, but my mom got the ingredients for the next soup.
Ah, what soup is that?
The
turkey meatball?
No, the Turkish. I think I got the soup for some reason. I wrote down for October 22nd instead of today.
Well, that's going to be a student soup. If we get more students, we're going to do that on Sunday. But you're going to love that soup. That's Turkish red lentil. We've made it here before, and it's delicious. So, all right, then I'm going to get back to you in a minute, Olivia. I want to welcome Karen, who just signed on. Hi, Karen.
And I think Vicki has a question. She has her hand raised.
Yes, I'm a very inexperienced cook.
We're going to walk you through this. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. You can't go wrong.
And when you said you can add this to the pot, you can use one pot. You don't need the cheesecloth. If you use the cheesecloth, it's got to be, your garlic really needs to be pressed or whatever. So my question is, where do you start? Do you start, because you said you add this and this and this and then the beans, and like, unfortunately my beans were not soaking for overnight, but
you know what, all that's going to happen is you're going to just simmer your soup for a longer time later, so don't worry about a thing. Carol, you want to just walk everyone through the getting the soup ready the old-fashioned way?
Sure. So if so part of this depends on what kind of beans you started with. If you started with shelled or dried beans, then yeah, you probably want to start with the beans and just put them in hot water and let them simmer. And they may need to simmer for a while. So this may not be dinner tonight for you because then they'd need to simmer. If you have the canned beans, that is not the case. So they'll go a lot faster. But if you have the dried ones, then they may need to really simmer for like an hour. Or again, if you have a steam oven, you can use the steam oven to do it, and it might be faster. But I would start there, and then I guess in violation of my one pot statement earlier, if you want to do all the or most of the cooking today, you could start in a separate pot while the beans are simmering along, because they will need to simmer for a while. You could do everything else in a big pot and then just eventually take the beans out that have been cooking in the water, drain them, and add them to the big pot. So that's an option.
Excuse me. So does that mean, like, I have my beans right now in the big pot,
okay,
simmering, but if I put them in a smaller pot now to simmer, I can then do everything else in the big pot?
Correct, exactly. You could do everything else. I think you can do all the vegetables, all the spices, everything but the beans in that big pot let the beans simmer and along. And then it's actually easier to test the beans. All you basically want to do is keep testing the beans until like you can put a fork into one and it goes in easily. Taste one, see if it tastes like a bean should taste, you know, soft and not.
But it doesn't need to be in like a big pot. It could be in a saucepan kind of
Could be in
size.
a saucepan, absolutely. But cover enough space so that you can cover water with it, and then just let the water. Yeah.
I'm on it.
Super. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to let you know that I don't yet have a big pot, so I've just ended up cutting the recipe in half, and I'll make as much as it makes.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
At some point I'll get the bigger pot so I can, you know, do the full triple recipe.
Yeah, I think Deb and Denise have an amazing big pot that, do you want to show off your big pot, guys? They have something that they got that looks really amazing.
I don't know if you can see this.
Mm.
That's our big pot. And I think it's called something like Tremontina. Is that right, Denise?
Well, there are all kinds of 10 and 12 quart pots that are available for as much as it would be used.
Yeah.
Probably won't be my biggest pot investment.
I think those big pots are very, very heavy to carry when they're full of soup or contents.
Sure.
That is true. I have something called Lodge, which is, I don't know if you can see this.
I love Lodge.
Yeah. I love Lodge too. It's, what's the one you give for wedding gifts all the time?
Oh, Le Creuset.
Le Creuset, right. It's Le Creuset without the pizzazz and without the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a Dutch oven. I have a Lodge Dutch oven.
Yeah, I have like 3 different sizes of them. I love it. And this is their biggest size. And it works for me, but it always gets super, super full. But I can get 8 quarts of soup out of this.
So they're comparable, the products?
They are. And it is, this one, when it's full of soup, is somewhat heavy. In fact, when I was looking at reviews of it, I love this. Someone said, if you buy this pot, you will get biceps like Michelle Obama. And I thought that was great. And I was like, yep, I'm getting it. So
you are becoming.
It's a little bit, it's more user-friendly. It's just, you know, it's not so tall. It's more, I don't know. There's something about the shape of it that's easier.
Do you buy it online or?
Yeah. I bought them online, and then I love them so much I got them for my kids because I thought they were so great. And it's a really good company. It's like someone said, it's Le Creuset, but without, you know, it's that same hard ceramic. It's attractive. So if you put it on the table, it's pretty, and but it's not ridiculously expensive. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
So where do we go from here?
So all right. So how many people are at the stage with their beans like soft and cooked? Vicki, I know you're not quite there yet, but you know, just keep working. Then you can start on the spices and the veggies. And what I would do, I would start with the onions and the garlic. Put in some olive oil or whatever oil of choice you want. What is this? Does this even say? Yeah, it says olive oil. I don't honestly. I mean, I keep extra virgin in the house. If you don't have extra virgin, it's fine. Don't worry about it for this. But I would do the onion and the garlic.
Are you doing it just in the big pot?
In the big pot, right? In the big pot, because this is all going to be one pot cooking, and then you can add the tomatoes right to that after the onions get soft. Again, if you're doing the cherry tomatoes, I would pierce them just not for taste reasons, but just so they don't explode, because you don't want them popping up. And you know, you can almost just smash them if you want. It doesn't really matter, but it's easier to just poke, like use a fork, take the prongs of a fork and poke them, and then just throw them in there. And then for all the spices, you know, the marjoram and the minced, the parsley and rosemary and thyme, I use dried spices. I did not use fresh spices for that, and I think it's fine. It's actually in soup. I find the fresh spices can sometimes be more of a hindrance because they add texture, and what you really want. I mean, there's so much texture already with the veggies and the beans that you don't need to add more texture. So Vicky, do you still have a question? Because your hand is up. I wasn't sure.
I forgot down. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. I just saw it and I wanted to make sure we address that.
I was just transferring my beans to a smaller pot, so I was listening and trying to follow.
Oh, great. Okay.
So in the big pot, and you put all these spices in, like the garlic cloves and the whole tomato, right?
Yeah, we'll cut it first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You cut it first.
Cut it first. Yeah.
Oh, you know, she's talking about the whole tomato that you would have put in the cheesecloth.
In the cheesecloth, right? I see why. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, for those of you who want to do the shortcut, just chop your onions, put some oil in your pan, and start cooking your onions. You always add a little bit of salt while you're sauteing your onions. So put a little salt in there, and then go ahead and add, if you're doing carrots and celery, add that now. Saute it up for 5 minutes, and then add your garlic. And then you're going to get back to the recipe and add your beans and your broth and the spices.
Right.
Is anyone doing the kale?
Yeah, at the end. You don't want to have the kale sitting around way too long in your soup.
Okay.
But so say you have the fresh stuff. Is that something you should then put in cheesecloth so it doesn't get really into this?
If you have the cheesecloth, then absolutely. And the way to do that, I have cheesecloth so I can.
I have to get my saute pan going.
Take a piece of cheesecloth like this. Oops, here we go. And just open it up. And put your spices in it if you want to use it. And I guess you could put the tomato in too. I like the idea of having cut tomato in the soup. So I think just with the spices, and then you can do this if you have the garlic. You can do this with the garlic too, and then you don't have to mince or cut the garlic. So you can take your garlic, your marjoram. What are the spices that you bought fresh?
Cranberry and thyme and but I think those are the only two that I bought fresh. Everything else is, garlic is fresh.
Garlic and the thyme, and what else did you say?
This is the onion for the soup, right?
And onion. Okay. So take all that and put it inside the cheesecloth, and then just tie it in a knot. Tie it in a knot so it's contained. And then let's see, what did they say to do that? Yeah, so then you could add that to the beans and let that cook in the beans, right? Is that what?
No, right now I'm just getting my beans to grow,
to soften. Yeah. Yeah, but you can when you're doing that, you can actually let the cheesecloth in while that's happening. While
in the beans, you mean?
Right.
Oh, I was not in the big pot.
No, if you're going to do the cheese, sorry, this is so confusing. If you're going to do the cheesecloth now, actually, you know what? You could do the cheesecloth in the big pot or in the beans if you'd rather do them in the big pot. The recipe said to do it in the beans, so that's just why I was thinking we might as well. But I think you could do it either way. I don't know. Okay. Deb, do you have an opinion on that? Where the cheesecloth should go if you're going that route? Deb? Sorry.
Okay, what?
Oh, so if you were to do the cheesecloth route, which Vicky was thinking of doing, the recipe said to do it in the beans, but she's letting her beans still soak. So what do you think about doing the cheesecloth with the marjoram and the thyme and stuff like that, and the garlic in the big pot with the veggies?
I agree. I mean, to have flavored beans or to have flavored broth that you have your beans cooking in,
it doesn't matter, right? I agree. So I think it can go. I just wanted to get a second opinion on that one. So Vicky, I think you could do it either way. Just remember, you're going to have to pull it out. So if you have a lot of stuff in that big pot, it may get a little messy, but that's okay. The beans, it's a little easier to pull out because there's not as much stuff, but whatever. If you prefer to just let the beans simmer along and soften and do their thing now and deal with the big pot and let the beans be on their own, I think that's totally fine.
Okay. And so, and I should be sauteing what should we be sauteing right now? The onion. This would be the onions for the soup, right? Is that what we're talking
for the soup? Right. Right.
Right. So when I see the 3 large onions finely chopped and the 18 garlic cloves, that's what I should be sauteing.
Right. Exactly.
And we can. So, Carol.
Yes.
So, and then after, so my onions and all that sauteing, I can throw in my cherry tomatoes. Is that correct?
Yep.
Next.
Yeah.
Okay.
And your beans, if they're soft enough. If you're, like Vicky was saying, hers need to be softened a little bit. But if yours are soft, you could actually throw those in as well.
Okay. I can throw them all in. I don't have to mash half of them.
I don't think so. Deb actually did the mashing. I didn't, because I like my soups to have like a lot of beans in them.
I just bought a mash.
Oh, wow. I love that tool. I use that all the time for potatoes. It's great for sweet potato mash, or for, mashed potatoes if you want to make.
Here's my question. I did reserve the water from the beans because, as you know, I did soak my beans already.
Yeah.
How much broth am I going to want to have in the soup? That doesn't seem to be, it's going to be enough broth.
Yeah, you may want to add more. You can probably get away with just adding, if you have an Insta-Hot, you can add Insta-Hot water, or just very hot water and let it cook if you have so much flavor in there already from the other stuff. But if you have either store-bought or prepared chicken, veggie broth, or broth that you've made, I know Deb often, she's actually gotten me in the habit of saving instead of composting stuff now, I save the ends of my onions and carrot peels, and then I make a broth with it, and it's delicious. And then I freeze that stuff, and then I save it and make a broth with it. So
are we supposed to be heating the broth right now?
No, I don't think it has to be heated. So is your broth just room temperature?
Well, I'm sauteing the onions now.
Yeah. And then, okay, so if you're sauteing the onions and the garlic, and what about the tomatoes? Have you added those yet? No. So I would then add the tomatoes. And then if you're going to add, I know Deb and I both added fresh carrots. They just call for the carrots in the cheesecloth, but we added ours to the soup. You can go ahead and add those. I added some celery, any veggies you want, and then I would add the broth. So I would do all the sauteing and then add the broth.
Okay.
So if we're doing this in one big pot, and like my broth is going to come from my my beans, right?
Yeah. You can make your broth from the beans because you're soaking yours for a long time.
Right. So while I'm heating the other stuff, I don't want to fill my pot all the way because I'll take my broth from my beans, right?
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Right. But you probably won't have that much because your beans are going to absorb a lot of the liquid. So I don't think you're not going to have a super amount in there left. I don't think. I mean, we'll see, but
we will see.
And again, you can always broth is something that definitely falls in the soup is very forgiving category. You can always add more liquid at the end. My soup got really thick. I think I mostly showed you this picture. It's really, really thick. So I'm actually adding a little more water. But at this point, I don't need to add broth because it's been cooking for a long, long time and it has a lot of flavor. And it's got a ton of vegetables in it that I know are going to keep adding flavor and a lot of spices. So I'm just adding little bits of Insta-Hot water to it, and that's fine. But I like really thick soups, especially as this cold weather descends on us.
I love sauteing. It smells so good, and it sizzles in front of you. It just looks so pretty.
It does. I agree, and it makes the veggies so bright, right? It changes their color.
Yeah.
So Olivier's cooking a different soup. So if anybody is curious and jealous and wants to make the soup that he's saying, am I wrong? I thought you were cooking.
No, we got the wrong ingredients, and so we're going to improvise and make the soup with you. So we have kale at home, and we have beans. We have White beans. So we're going to use white beans or pinto beans. I haven't decided yet.
Oh, you're all good. All right. I was going to invite everyone to cook Kind Soup for students on Sunday when I think Olivia, will he be able to join us and we'll make the red lentils on Sunday?
Yes, I will. Of course I will.
All right. So what if everybody's busy doing what they're doing? Can I ask Olivier about where he's going to be bringing his soup that he's going to be sharing?
Yes.
Where are we going to bring our soup?
They want to a person.
Your hand is in the way, so why don't you?
Yeah, come on over here, because I remember you used to give soup to a neighbor. Are you still going to give soup to your neighbor like you used to, or is that?
So we're giving soup to a person at the Bethesda parking lot.
Right on Bethesda Avenue, that person who sits right next to, I know the person you're talking about.
We give the soup to him. His name is Jimmy.
How did you meet Jimmy?
This is how we met Jimmy.
Explain.
Because of this woman right here.
She sounds like a good woman. How is it that you you got to speaking with him, Olivier?
Oh, because we had some soup and my mom wanted me to do 3 hours of service activities a week. So I just went so we went and gave that to him.
Okay, so you just kind of handed him soup and that was that. You walked away?
That's great.
Talk to him. Did we ask him where is he from?
Yeah, we asked him where he's from, and he was from Tallahassee, Florida.
Really? That was nice that you spoke with him. And is he a soup kind of guy? Does he like soup, or was he?
Yeah, he really liked it.
All right. So are you going back are you going to bring him some of this cranberry or whatever kind of bean soup you're making?
Yeah. When? We're going to give we're going to give it to him on when? Tomorrow? We're going to give it to him tomorrow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. That is fantastic. That's a great idea. I'm glad you're taking care of him with some soup. Thank you for doing that.
He said, when we went over there, we said hi and we introduced ourselves, asked him what his name was and where he was from. And we said, do you like soup? And he said, I love soup. And I said, well, we just made some soup at home yesterday and we'd love to share it with you if you'd like. And he was like, I'm hungry, so I would love some soup.
Aww.
So we said, okay, we'll come back again next week and bring some more soup. And so that was nice to get to chit chat because we see him often.
Yeah.
And we've talked to him, well, maybe not Olivier, but this time Olivier was with me. And so we had a nice conversation with him.
That's so nice. Thank you for doing that, Olivier. That's really special.
You're welcome.
All right. And don't forget, you report your soups in. So you'll tell me that story on the forum online. Okay, Olivier? Everybody reports in any of the soups that they share, whether it's to the food assistance hubs or to people like Olivier that you meet on the street or in your family and you want to bring soups to them. Just everybody make as much soup as you can, enjoy it for dinner, and then give the rest away. That's our plan here. How's everybody doing? Can I see some thumbs up or thumbs down? Anybody have some questions? Everybody feeling, I got one thumbs up.
Yeah, where do we find the form to fill in to tell you where we delivered?
Oh, it's right on where you saw the completely crazy recipe, right on that same page.
Oh, okay.
There'll be something that says, please report in using this form, and it'll be a link. But what I'll do, because I've got a few of you newly joining us today, is also copy that link into the chat. So if you want to just copy it from there, that might be easier for you guys. And we're excited to have you join us. I'm glad you're doing this. I hope you enjoy it and enjoy it. Yeah, it's Vicky.
Any hints to how you finally chop onion?
Yeah, and you're not going to like my hint. I've been doing soups for almost 3 years, every week, sometimes more than once a week. Not as often as Marge, but a lot of soup. And last week, I bought new knives. And I can't even tell you how much easier my onion chopping life has gotten. Honestly, I thought my knives were fine. I bought new knives and my life is so much better. It's that easy, Vicky.
But besides knives, I'm just trying to...
All right, Marcia, you have a skill to show us, right? Or no? All right, I'm going to pin Marcia and she's going to walk you through it.
What am I doing?
Oh, you were shaking your head. Yes. You were going to show us the technique that they have taught you on onion chopping, easy onion chopping.
Okay.
All
Let
right,
me
here we go.
see if I can point you to my chopping board. This is going to be a little, let me see.
I want to know garlic.
Oh, I got
garlic.
How to get this shell off the garlic fast.
All right, I'm going to talk you through that while Marsha's arranging her her camera on the board. You take your knife, you put your garlic on the cutting board, and you take your knife and you smash the head of the top of the garlic with under your knife. Be careful not to cut your hand off, and the skin will break and peel off. It's that easy.
Wow.
You just take the knife, bam, bam.
Bam, bam. There you go. Bam, bam.
And if you have a cleaver, it's even easier because I use a cleaver.
So smart.
By the way, in terms of chopping onions, I must say I cheated and I bought chopped onions this time.
You're allowed, Carol. We love shortcuts.
I mean, that was about the shortest. That's an expensive shortcut, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this recipe was so complicated. I figured I needed.
Oh, we're so sorry. That was just a test. Everybody passed.
I have to admit that I cheat and use my food processor.
Yeah.
And there's another cheat that you can use. It's called there's a chopper that you can get on Amazon. Sorry, I know you don't like Amazon. But it has these blades that are like squares.
Yeah.
And you just put the onion and you go chop and it goes into the container. And that's another cheat if anyone really hates to chop onions.
Love that.
So there are some cheats you can do.
Yeah, we do love cheats.
And then the garlic, if you really hate to mince garlic, you can buy the little squares at Trader Joe's that are frozen.
Yeah, that's what
I use those a lot in the soups.
Little cheat.
Yeah, those. I use those. What
Olivier has.
Olivier is showing us. I use those all the time, the ginger and the garlic.
Yep, me too.
All right, Marsha. Your board looks completely ready for us.
I am balancing on a bowl upside down to get this into the screen. But
all right,
we do what we need to do.
You were asking, right, Vicki?
Yes.
All right, Marsha's got that onion front and center. Can you see it?
Not yet, because I see you,
Really?
Marsha.
Oh,
When she talks.
Vicki, put it on gallery. You probably are just put your Zoom on. You know how to do that on gallery so you can see.
Yeah, but I don't think you want gallery. You want Marsha pinned, and she was.
Well,
but she's not talking. Okay, we'll let her talk.
She froze. Actually, I think she froze. Yeah, that's too bad because she was all set. It was all ready.
Oh, she froze.
Yeah.
okay, well,
Martine, do you need an onion? You want to show us? I know you've got the technique too.
The onion how to chop an onion?
Yeah.
Sure. Let me get another one.
Okay.
Let me see if I have another one in the fridge. Just
Thank you. Unless Marsha comes back, let's see. Or we'll do competing. I'll have them.
I know often she's going to come back.
what should I have going on in my big pot right now?
So you already did your onions, and if you were using carrots or celery and garlic?
Those?
No, the onions from the first pot, you mean? Just the loose onions, not the chopped onions.
No, you should have your oil and your chopped onions in the big pot now.
Well, I haven't chopped my onions yet.
Oh, that's right. You're learning. So your big pot is doing nothing right now. It's just waiting for you.
Okay, so I don't feel bad.
No,
Okay.
feel good. In fact, here comes Martine. Ready?
We're about to put 4 cups of water. And
okay. All right. So with the onion right here, you want not to cut where it's all held together intact.
Okay.
You want to chop the end so just chop that little end off.
Okay. Did that. Yep.
And keep the other part intact. Then I cut it in half.
Okay. Okay.
got that half, and you don't have to peel off all the skin right now. So I've got it on a flat surface right now, and this stays intact to keep it all together. So from this position, you see right there, then cut in horizontal, like right across.
I'm starting to cry.
Okay.
Deb, is this what you had in mind, or did you have another way?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm going to cut probably 3 rows of the onion.
Right. Got it.
Okay, and I'm going to take some of the peeling off to do that at the beginning. Just 1 second. Let me get it all.
I'm crying.
Hey, can you step aside? Just 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm just getting some of the skin off.
Oh,
can you please excuse me, love?
Okay.
Okay. So now I've got about 3 rows of the onion. Now I'm going to cut vertical lines, and I'm not going to cut all the way through because I want to keep it intact at this root right here.
Okay.
I'm just going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe. And you see, for the most part, it stays intact, even though, and here, now I'm going to cut across, and that way I'll have small little dice pieces of the onion. Do you see that?
Got it.
In dice form. And that way it still stays intact because you've kept it at the root here.
Perfect.
And so an easy way to keep it and easy to cut.
Excellent.
But then you start crying.
There you go. You can do the other side. Does anyone have another more efficient? That's how I cut my onions. I don't know if I've seen other people do other ways too, but that's how I do.
That's a good one. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure.
To work I go.
All right, back to Carol. Thank you, Martine. Thank you, Olivier.
Hi, sorry, I lost you for a moment. I couldn't get back on.
Oh, all right, let's see. We're gonna watch you now. Are you still?
Oh, yeah.
Unless you don't need to, or you already did.
I think I didn't see what happened, but if you're good, I mean,
no, I think it would be great to get a second
okay,
sort of showing of how, because we just saw Martine do it, and that was great, and maybe there are other ways to do it.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me clear the board. See if I could get back to that great video stance that we had. Let's see, does that work? Yeah, boy, this isn't easy. Okay. Oh. Okay, hold on a second. If I could get it to, okay. All right, so the official cooking school way that I learned, but I don't use it usually, but the thing is to leave a little bit of a core on the bottom so that you don't cut all the way through.
Oh, that's consistent with Martine. That's what she said as well.
Okay. So you do vertical cuts, always with your fingers out of the way. Then you do vertical cuts the other way. Still, everything is connected. I think this is where I lost you. And then see, so it's all one, all one piece, but everything is cut. So then you, with your fingertips out of the way, just cut down like this. And so everything is diced.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you. I am definitely learning something new today. I appreciate that.
I have a tomatoes question. I have choices. I could do little tiny ones. I could do the bigger Campari ones. Does anyone have a preference for the soup?
You know, those grape tomatoes are the perfect size. Cut them in half. Don't worry about skinning them like the original recipe said, and they're perfect. If you have a recipe that you want to make using the grape tomatoes, then go ahead and use the Campari and chop them up. It doesn't matter. But
cut each of these small ones in half?
Yes. Yes.
I agree. Grape tomatoes are delicious.
Okay. Thank you.
They are.
Thank you, Marcia. That was great.
Yeah. So I didn't follow any rules and I missed half of what you said. So I just literally, well, I cooked the canned beans with all the ingredients that you said, but without a cheesecloth. So everything was all together. And then I dumped that into the water I had, and I dumped in all the vegetables. I did saute a little bit of onions because I had them aside. And it tastes great. I don't even know how many of the dried spices I added.
Good. You know what? We cannot understand why they wrote this recipe this way. It's so unnecessary. So I'm glad that you had the same experience Carol and I had. It was unnecessary to make it so crazy.
Absolutely. And to the woman who was asking about the grape tomatoes versus the large tomatoes, I'm sorry, I lost my gallery and now I'm not sure.
I'm Karen, I'm back.
Karen, hi. Yeah, you looked a little mortified when we talked about cutting them all. I don't think you actually have to cut them. You could just pierce them. You can literally just pierce them with a fork, which will take, a millisecond to do. Then put them in and they will cook down. So you don't even need to cut them in half. They're small enough. The cherry tomatoes I would cut, but the grape ones, pierce. And again, it's mostly so that they don't explode when they're heated. And then it'll also help them cook down a little bit. And so you don't even have to cut them in half.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I did, and mine are fine. I mean, they're actually, so I can show you here. I'm gonna try to pull out. So you see see that piece of tomato there?
Oh yeah.
It's fine. And that's a whole tomato that just had been pierced. Yeah.
So Carol, you didn't end up with skins separate? That didn't happen? Oh, because I'm having a little bit of that, but I'm pulling out the ones I could get to, but
I don't know. Actually, you know what? There may be some, but I don't think that's going to hurt the flavor of the soup, or that this is such a thick, dense soup that I think a little tomato skin is fine. I don't think I guess that's probably why they cautioned you to peel them, but
but we don't listen.
Well, yeah, we don't. I added at one point I added some canned peeled tomatoes, so I have a bunch of them in there that are different texture anyway, and I think it's fine. I think they'll probably end up coating some of the kale, and that'll be fine. And yeah, I wouldn't worry about a few peels. But so did you actually peel your grape tomatoes?
No.
No, you're just trying to get out still.
Sometimes when I see the.
Oh, she froze again.
She froze again. Ah.
This is a question.
Yeah.
Does anybody use this kind of vegetable broth? We use this kind, the vegetable kind. We also have chicken and beef.
Yep, I use that today. No, not today. I made my own today. But
what is it? What type? What is the brand, Olivier?
Better than bouillon, right?
Better than bouillon.
Oh, I've heard about that. Do you get that? Can you get that at the Giant or?
Yep, and at Costco.
Costco has big jars of it.
Yeah, but Costco's only if you want like a 50 pack,
no,
300 pound.
No, this is the Costco size.
Oh, okay. Wow, I'm surprised.
Yes.
Always on the top rows, you see like big package things.
Yeah,
Who's gonna bring that?
This is the Costco size.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So the answer is a lot of us use it, Olivier.
Good.
Well, I'll get it.
Yeah.
It's very flavorful, I find. Since we're vegetarian, we use the vegetable flavor, but it's quite flavorful. And so it's a nice cheat when you don't have time to make your own vegetable broth. Or it's more flavorful than a lot of the others in a carton.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also has a umami kind of texture to it. So again, because I'm vegetarian as well, and so I find even for things like I'll use it for matzo ball soup, or I'll use it for something where I might have used chicken broth if I wasn't vegetarian, and it gives you enough to make it good.
I agree.
Yeah. Another cheat that's a really fun way to make a good veggie broth is to use miso. And Deb and I have talked about this a lot. So to get all the probiotic benefits of miso, you do not want to boil it. So if you're making broth, you have to be sort of careful if you're trying to keep it really healthy with the miso. You want to make the miso using sort of lukewarm tepid water mixed with it, and then only add it at the end when your soup is pretty much made, so that you know all the boiling and the heating that you've done for the other parts of your soup doesn't affect the miso. But if you can do that, it just keeps all the good stuff in there, the good vitamins.
Just remember, if you use miso, you must label it that it contains soy.
Thank you, Marge.
Thank you, Marge. Yes, good point.
A question. I'm just wondering how long I should, let the soup simmer. I have boiled, so I don't have an Instapot, but I have boiled a pot of water to add, which you'll probably need. But how long do you figure? How long, Carol, did you let yours simmer? It got so thick.
Yeah, I let mine go probably about 20 minutes. But it really, you don't want to keep the kale in there that long because you don't want to overcook the kale. So I let it go for like 15 minutes and then added the kale that I had blanched. So if you're going with fresh kale, you need to keep the kale in a little bit longer. And by the way, the kale, for those of you especially that haven't cooked a lot with kale, kale will cook down. This thing called for 3 pounds of kale, which I didn't use all 3 pounds, but when you first put it in there, you think, oh my gosh, like a ½ pound is going to already fill up your pot. And it does at the beginning, but just, once it cooks down, it actually really reduces in volume. So you probably can get, like in a big pot like I have, you can probably get like 2½ pounds.
Well, I ended up blanching it because I had the water.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, as long as.
Okay, great.
Vicki, did you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
So I'm doing my sauteing finally. I've got my onions sauteing, and I'm going to throw the garlic cloves in. Do they have to be sliced? They're fresh. They're peeled.
The whole cloves? Yeah, you probably want to try to cut them in like mince, or do you have a garlic press?
Not here.
Okay, then I would just try to cut them in little pieces so that they're not people aren't going to bite into a whole piece of garlic.
Got it.
But again, if you wanted to, Vicki, you could take one of those kind of larger knives and put the garlic clove on your cutting board, take the big knife and smash it. And then you can kind of scrape that smashed garlic clove into your cutting board, and that's pretty much pressed garlic. Martine, am I leading her astray, or is that okay?
Yeah, I got what you meant.
Okay, yeah, you can just do that.
So once all this is sauteed, do I saute the onion that was supposed to go in the soup? No, that just goes in, right?
Yeah, you can either just put that onion back in your refrigerator, or you can chop more up and put it in your soup. It doesn't matter. But do I have to saute it? If you're going to put it in your soup, you may want it sauteed, but
I would, because again, it'll soften the flavor a little bit, give it a little bit of fat, which is nice. So yeah, if you're onion and garlic, I would saute.
So even the stuff that they said put in the cheesecloth, or just forget that.
You could forget that. Honestly,
forget it if you're doing a cheesecloth. Yeah.
I just forgot it.
Okay. If you want to add it, saute it. If you don't want to add it and want to forget it, that's totally fine, because you've got enough other stuff going on in there.
Carol, we're lucky because not only is soup forgiving, but Vicki is forgiving too.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
it's a complicated recipe.
It's one of those things that this is one of my late in life things that is happening, is that I'm cooking.
How did you eat before you started this?
My ex-husband did all the cooking and the shopping and this, and I mean, I can make a fabulous brisket, and make a really nice salmon pasta salad, and I think I have 1 or 2 other specialties. But
well, we hope you keep cooking with us, because I have to tell you, everybody on this call other than you and Karen, who we are meeting today, started out with many, many questions when we started cooking together 2.5 years ago. And now everybody feels so confident, not only about techniques, but about how to make changes to recipes based on personal taste or what I have in the kitchen or what's on sale. You're going to just be so good, Vicki. You are going to look back and just smile.
So
Yeah,
final
so
So you said add salt. I finally remembered actually what my real question was. It took me all this time, you know. Okay, before I forget the question. So you said, did you say to add salt to what I'm sauteing?
No, I would add the salt at the end when you've combined the beans and your vegetables are all simmering along, and just like taste the broth and see what you think. And I think you're going to want to add some salt.
So Carol, I just want to add, if it's okay, the thing that I had said that maybe confused Vicki is I have come to learn that when you saute your vegetables and especially onion, it's really great to start out with a little bit of salt on that pan on the onions. It helps kind of the moisture come out of the onions and your onions don't burn. So people tell you to add salt during different phases of your cooking. You don't want to over salt stuff. I agree completely with Carol. You want to wait till the end to do that. How does my soup taste and what does it need? But add some salt while you're sauteing your veggies.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I may not be as far along as some other people, but I am sauteing a big pot of onions, garlic, all my beautiful tomatoes, large and small, and cut up carrots. I added a little salt. So what do I do after this?
So are your beans ready for prime time? Yeah.
There they are.
Add them in and then add broth. And you're almost done. And then the only
thing when do you add the marjoram and thyme? Should I put that in with my sauteing vegetables?
You could do it either way. I usually wait until I've added everything and then I add all the spices so that it's all in together. But you could just add it with the.
So then just add the beans.
Yes. So add the beans to your veggies are sauteing in a big pot, right? So there's right. So add the beans and then add your broth and then so beans, broth, spices is the order I would do.
And then kale at the end.
And the kale at the end, exactly. And then just to clarify, when I said spices, I meant except for the salt, because I think the salt you want to moderate at the end. And for the exception that Deb was talking about, where
I don't really cook with much salt at all. So
yeah, okay. So see what you think. You may not want to.
Wait, when you were saying, when Karen was saying she was sauteing everything, so I should really be sauteing this stuff in the big pot.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. I just wanted to say, this soup we're making the broth right now.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. We have rosemary, thyme, garlic, onions, and beans and carrots.
That is beautiful.
Looks lovely.
Let me see. I want to see it again, please.
Show and tell.
That's nice.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice.
Very colorful.
Very nice. Okay.
I've got a carrot on my computer.
For those of you from B'nai Sedek, Marcia said she doesn't know why her internet kept falling off, but it was good to see everyone, and she wants to wish her B'nai buddies good luck and a good night. I like the term B'nai buddies. We're going to get you guys t-shirts.
Oh, great. B'nai buddies. Well, anyway, I feel so relieved with all of the shortcuts, and I should have known that there would have been a host of them, because these are the things that keep me up at night.
Well, they won't any longer. We're going to walk you through this, and you too will feel like, I don't need to do what the New York Times tells me to do. This is going to work this way.
Yeah, the soup looks really good. I've just added my kale, and it's very thick, so I'm probably going to add some more water.
Perfect.
And just let it.
Yeah.
I have a question about the vegetables. One more question. Yeah. I have petite carrots and I cut them lengthwise in half, so they're very pretty, but I'm concerned that they're going to take so long to cook.
They
in
won't.
the soup.
They won't.
Remember that you have to let your soup cool before you freeze it. And as it's cooling, they're going to be sitting in hot liquid, and that's going to take a long time to happen. So
Okay.
that's why things like kale and pasta, it's like, it's not, to me, it's almost not worth cooking them because it's going to cook down as the soup cools.
Good point. Okay.
But I have an important announcement. This is important. I don't know where all these people live, but I do every Tuesday morning, I take the soup to the Up County hub. So if you need your soup delivered, here are the rules. I live in Carderock, and the soup has to be at my house by 10 a.m. That does not mean 6 a.m. That means sometime between 9 and 10 a.m. So I need to know who's coming over. And if Carderock is not convenient, the second pickup is between 10:15 and 10:30 at Har Shalom, right in front of the main entrance. Okay?
Thank you.
Har Shalom when? When is the Har Shalom?
Between 10:15 and 10:30.
On Tuesdays.
On Tuesday. So the other thing that you need to know is as you're freezing your soup, it sometimes doesn't always freeze by Tuesday morning. So you'll find some of them have frozen and some of them haven't. So sometimes people give me soup and say, these aren't frozen, and I'll take them home and throw them into my freezer so that they get delivered the following week. There's no magic here. The county doesn't care whether you're delivering, tomato soup this week or tomato soup. They don't care. They're not tracking by what we're delivering. And the other thing is, if I do deliver your soup, it goes to the Up County hub. You'll see it listed on Deb's form. Okay.
So the person who makes the soup fills out the form, not the person who delivers the soup, if they aren't the same.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. That's a good point.
And that's very, very nice of you to do that. That's terrific.
Well, back during COVID, it was the only way I got to put mileage on my car. So, and it was important. You were supposed to drive your car. So my trip from Bethesda to Germantown that was the only thing I did. Wow. I need to know who is showing up at my house tomorrow morning other than Lisa. Kelly, are you coming? Yes or no? Anyone else?
No, but thank you for the offer, Marge.
Okay.
All right. We are down to 3 minutes. How are my seasoned chefs doing? Everybody giving me a thumbs up? Anybody add anything other than a little red pepper flakes, more herbs and salt? Anybody come up with something different to do at the end?
I did a lot more blending of my beans.
Ah, okay.
Actually, I wasn't mashing things. I put them in, used the blender, and I'd say I blended about half of them. So I'm not very brothy. And that's because my husband doesn't like soups that are brothy. He likes mushy stuff.
Okay, then he's going to get what he likes. All right. Yep.
I bought pinto beans. This is called impulsive buying.
Yeah.
So can I mix the red with the pinto?
Sure.
That's what
totally fine. Totally fine.
Yeah. Individualize, right?
I have one of these smart sticks, and I guess I could do some of my. I may just stick it in and do part of it.
You could. I think that the way they separated it was so that if you had your other chopped veggies didn't get blended, but it does not matter at all.
Yeah, I might just do a little bit, just to
a
little bit of softness to it.
All right. Yeah. So for B'nai Buddies, how are we doing?
The beans are going in. The beans are going in right now.
I don't know if you can see, but I got it going. I got it all together.
Beautiful. All right. So we've got 2 people are well on their way, almost done. And Vicki, you're going to take a little longer, but it's going to be delish, right?
Well, my B'nai Buddies might be hearing from me with some questions, but and Karen, it looks like you figured it out as usual. So you might be getting a call from me later.
Karen Preston, are you good with that?
I'm a newbie. I do have a Zoom at 7:30.
All right.
I've already fielded a couple of calls from Vicki.
Yeah. So one last question. So I'm sauteing in the big pot. So I cut the big tomato. I do all my tomatoes, right?
Yes.
And I cut them so that the flavor comes out.
Yes. Yeah, and it cooks. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, if you set aside some veggies to use and you want to use it, chop it up and put it in the big pot. But otherwise, you don't need to put the stuff that was going to flavor the beans in the big pot. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it. Now
all right. All right, so let me tell you all one last thing, other than thanking you for joining us today and cooking. If you go down into the chat and you want to copy the chat, there might be 3 dots down at the bottom. And if you click that, it might allow you to copy the chat. Carol Weil put in there that you can call her with questions, and she gave you her phone number, Vicki. And I put in the link to use to report your soups. So if anybody wants to do that, you can do it. And otherwise, it's 6:30 and we're going to say good night to everyone. Marge, it's happy hour.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. I hope
Bon
to
appetit.
see you.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit and cheers.
Bye-bye.
What do you think, Olivier?
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Best thing I ever tasted, seriously.
Oh, that can't be true, but we love to hear it. Have a good week, Olivier and Martine.
I can just like eat this all day.
All right, well, you're
Olivier,
gonna have to do your homework and go to bed, bud.
It's the best one till the next one. It's the best one till the next
That's
one.
one until the
Exactly.
next one. Exactly. Nice to see you all again.
You too.
Bye.
Well,
Thank
Bye.
you, Carol.
thanks.
It's so good.
Oh, good.
Yay. Olivier.